Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. The Dig Out edition of Hot Mic is underway on a Friday, the 24th of February, the final Friday of the month, which is freaking cold outside. At least it's not snowing. We got that going for us. As we steamroll out of February, by this time next week, the madness of March will be here. Madness actually started yesterday. It continues here this morning for different reasons. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hot Mic. I am Dom Izzo, host of said show, and our final program of the week is ready to rock and roll, and we've got a cavalcade of good stuff coming your way as we now are ready for semifinal Friday at the state hockey tournament. We'll recap that in just a little bit. It was another East buzzsaw, although I will say, as compared to what we've had over the past few years, we had three really competitive games yesterday, three really good games up in Grand Forks yesterday. Cheyenne and Minot was a dandy right down to the end. You had a double overtime game, which I'm sure our crew loved that, between Davies and Legacy. And then South Shanley and Century played a tight game that went down to the wire as well. We'll recap all that in just a little bit as the East now is 16-0. 16-0 against the West over the last 4 years of the quarterfinal round. And I had some smart Alex on Twitter say, well, now hockey needs to go to two classes for competitive balance. Don't give me that junk. But you can seed the top eight. I think there's some merit to that. I don't know if there's any momentum with that. I'm sure the West doesn't want any part of that, but it's hard to say when Fargo North's probably the fifth best team in the state. They're sitting at home. West Fargo had a quality team that they didn't get a chance to get there. That's probably a conversation for another day, but be that as it may, it is another impressive day for the East. We'll break down all of that coming up, as I mentioned, in just a little bit. We've got 6 of the 8 teams locked in for the Girls State B in Minot. 6 region champions crowned last night. Some familiar faces are going to be back. We've got some new faces there, which is exciting. We'll discuss that coming up in just a little bit as well. But we are down to one game left in the Summit League basketball seasons, as last night was a busy one. You saw it on WDAY last night. The Bison men entertaining St. Thomas at the Shack last night in a game where the two teams started the night tied for third place in the Summit League, in a game that was filled with threes. St. Thomas set a new arena record for the amount of threes that they jacked up last night. They didn't make nearly as many as they were hoping to. Game was a 4-point game in the second half for Bowden Skunberg. Got going, and he has honestly been the catalyst for the Bison here lately. A drive and a foul for an and one. Put the Bison up 7. Here, collects an offensive rebound, knocks down a long 2. Part of a stretch here where he was making shots left and right. Put the Bison up 7 at that point. Then Grant Nelson, who once again had a double-double. His 7th straight double-double. That put the Bison up 9. You're thinking, all right, this game is in hand, and it was for the most part. As Nelson knocks down, originally it was called a 3. They marked that down a long 2. That put the Bison up 10 with just over 4 minutes to go to pretty much ice the game. We did have some theatrics late, courtesy of Skunberg and Nelson. And this is where Bowden has gotten so good here down low, able to get another and one there. Skunberg finished with 16 points and 12 rebounds, another double-double for the Jamestown kid, one of 4 Bison in double figures last night. And here for some theatrics, the alley-oop from DeJavis Miller to Grant Nelson to send everybody home happy. St. Thomas got back in this game courtesy of some Bison turnovers, but North Dakota State knocks off St. Thomas. 73-64 is the final to put NDSU into third place alone in the Summit League. Andrew Rohde, by the way, is a stud, folks. The freshman from St. Thomas, number 3 last night, had finished with 20 points. You see, the 46 three-point attempts is a new arena record, breaking the old record set by Trinity Bible back in 2003 when they played Tim Miles' North Dakota State team in a game that the Bison needed a makeup, and Trinity Bible came up here to the old BSA, and they launched, I believe it was 43 threes that night, so St. Thomas shattered that, 12 of 46 from three-point range. And they took an even amount. They took 23 in the first half. They took 23 in the second half. That's their MO, though. Meanwhile, for the Bison, you see the stat lines there. A really nice night for Damari Wheeler-Thomas, kind of under the radar there. He had 13 points and was in control of the Bison offense throughout the night, along with Andrew Morgan, who was plagued with foul trouble. He finished with 10 points as the Bison also, more importantly, and I mentioned this during the broadcast, made their free throws last night, 18 of 20 at the foul line. So with that, here are the up-to-date standings now on the men's side as we have one game to go in the season. Oral Roberts won last night in Vermillion. They are a game away from perfection. But here's the rub, folks. They play South Dakota State tomorrow in Frost Arena to go for the record that the Jackrabbits got last year. That is going to be a humdinger of a game because ORU is going to go balls out, and, you know, South Dakota State is going to go all out for that one, knowing that they want that one. That's going to be a heck of a game tomorrow at Frost Arena. 1 and 2 are locked up. The Bison now have the inside track at 3. If NDSU wins tomorrow, they are the 3 seed at the Summit League tournament. If they lose, then they need some help. Then they need UND to beat St. Thomas for the Bison to clear a pathway there. Honestly, if they lose, they could fall all the way to 5, which means you're bet on the same side with Oral Roberts. So that's how critical a win is tomorrow for the Bison. You're not falling below 5, though. That's good to know. So you're at worst, you're the 5. At best, you're the 3 seed. St. Thomas now at 9-8 with Western Illinois, who won in Grand Forks yesterday. Kansas City has dropped down now to the 6th spot. Remember when the Roos were all the way up to 3? Kansas City's going through a heck of a late season swoon here. So the Bison could very well see Kansas City in Sioux Falls, depending on how things go tomorrow, which would be a tough matchup for the Bison. They split that season series with Kansas City. South Dakota at 6-11 has pretty much guaranteed themselves that they are going to play in the play-in games, which is a week from today. Denver, North Dakota had a chance to get out, as we mentioned that yesterday, but they lost, so UND will play on Friday, and then Omaha in last. So that's the standings, and that's where we're at here. The Bison Western game tomorrow is going to be a dandy as well. By the way, Eric brought this up to me during the broadcast yesterday, and we got to show, if you didn't watch the South Dakota State Kansas City game last night, and I don't blame you why you didn't, because why would you? South Dakota State won that game by 20. But the Jackrabbits wore these jerseys. I don't know what this is. I don't know who signed. It looked like they're Zuba's jerseys or something. I don't know who signed off on this. But we need to get a full investigation into that because those are bad. And people know who watch the show. Normally I sign off on most jersey, helmet, whatever kind of combo. Those are hideous. If I'm an announcer and I'm calling the game, what? No, those are bad. I hope they don't break those out Saturday for the Oral Roberts game. Let's hope that's not the case there. So, nice win, and Dave Richmond's team trending in the right direction. They've won 4 of their last 5. And I'll just say the elephant in the room. We talked about it before the broadcast wrapped up yesterday. There are no seniors on this team. but is tomorrow Grant Nelson's last game at the Shack? I think there's some real questions around that. I think depending on who you talk to, there could be some more definitive answers. Personally, if I'm a betting man, I would say, yeah. It's going to take something else for him to come back here. Whether it's the NBA or a Power 5 that would potentially entice him. Stranger things have happened. Christian Watson turned down some massive NIL and some recognizable schools to come back and play a fifth year in Fargo. So there are stuff like that does happen. And him being a North Dakota guy, maybe that would help NDSU here. But that is certainly something that we'll address during the broadcast tomorrow, because without any seniors, you have to wonder, is this young man going to come back and play another year? And if not, get out and see that game tomorrow, because he's something special. And I got a feeling he went crazy against Western the first time he played. I'd be intrigued to see what happens coming up tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Bison women with a monster game last night in St. Paul. We talked about it yesterday when Jory Collins joined us, knowing that they had to keep on winning to try and keep pace with UND. The Fighting Hawks won convincingly at Western Illinois last night. So last night, all right, see, they got to take care of business in St. Paul, facing St. Thomas, a team that had come in winners of 3 games in a row. And the Bison women couldn't have started any worse last night. NDSU scored 6 points in the first quarter. 6. But they started heating up in the second half. Nifty feed there to find Emily Banky. Taylor Brown, who had numerous family and friends in the stands. Look, hook shot there. Put the Bison up 5 at 25-20 midway through the third quarter. Abby Schulte kicks it out here. Brown knocks down a big-time 3. This is a huge stretch in this game for NDSU as Brown hits a 3. Then Christina Ekofo-Yomain, who had a really good game on Saturday against Oral Roberts, produced again yesterday off the bench with 4 points and 6 rebounds in 20 minutes of action. Heaven Hamling got dinged up. You can see number 11 out there with a face mask on. She took an elbow to the face last night and missed some time because of that. She only played 24 minutes in the game. But they have her, Elle Evans, who was sensational last night with 17 points and 34 minutes of game action to put this game away late in the third quarter. And then for good measure, Hamling able to knock down a 3 with the mask on, and that's something that we'll see how much that's going to plague her going forward. But the Bison pull away and get a big win, 64-44 the final in St. Paul last night. Evans, another double-figure game, where she's just been automatic on that. 11 straight games in double figures. Had a game-high 17. Brown was great last night. 11 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. I think she wanted to play well in front of the hometown crowd, and she did just that. You see the stat out there, what Elle's done. 23 games in double figures this season. Banky had a big 10. Because Hamling did not have a great night. Just 5 points last night, and obviously got dinged up. But a game they had to have, they get it, especially for a team that had come in playing well in St. Thomas, who had won 3 straight games. So, with that, here we go with 1 game to go on the women's side, and still everything on the table for the Bison heading into tomorrow. If NDSU wins tomorrow in Macomb, the Bison will be the 2 seed. It's winning in on that one. If they lose, they need UND to lose, and they can still grab the 2 seed. That's because South Dakota won yesterday in Tulsa. The Golden Eagles are going the wrong way. Oral Roberts has lost 5 games in a row as they'll play South Dakota State. The critical team in all this is USD. And again, I'll remind everybody on the tiebreaker scenario, if NDSU and UND both win, then the tiebreaker goes to your record against the next team in the standings. That would be South Dakota. And reminder that the Bison swept USD, UND split. That's why the Bison will get the 2 seed. And what goes with that is the automatic berth to the women's NIT. I think we're all under the assumption that South Dakota State is going to win the Summit League tournament, but if they don't, then we've got chaos and havoc happening in Sioux Falls. I think South Dakota State is as much as locked to win that as any I can remember in recent time. So South Dakota right now, by the way, the Bison have locked in. At worst, they will be the 3 on the women's side because of their win yesterday. So they've clinched at least a share of third place, and they're going for more. Denver at 5. Denver and Omaha play tomorrow to wrap up the regular season. South Dakota has a trip to Kansas City. And, oh, by the way, South Dakota State is going for perfection as well. The Jackrabbits wrap up in Tulsa against ORU to wrap up the regular season. And you can see there's still some jockeying there who might be in the play-in next Friday. Omaha's at 7-10, St. Thomas at 6-11. Western and Kansas City have locked themselves in to the play-in game next week. And the Bison could very well see this Western Illinois team again, depending on how things go. But a big win yesterday, and we will see how tomorrow goes. But that's the kind of win that NDSU needed to get when they played at Omaha and Denver. And they didn't get that kind of performance. And I think they full well know what's at stake, and they'll try to go for that tomorrow. It's a 2 o'clock tip in Macomb. It's a tough place to go. And you see what Western's record is, and the Bison handled Western earlier this season. They're going the wrong way. They've lost a couple in a row. It's this time where it's going to be senior day there. You got to bury a team like this, like they did with St. Thomas. By the way, the win last night secured the most Division I wins for the Bison since Amy Ruley's final year. That was 2008, folks. Amy stepped down in March of 2008. The Bison won 17 games. They have not won that many since. That is 15 years ago. That's a big achievement there. Regardless, I think they're playing some postseason basketball after the Summit League tournament. If it's the women's NIT, the WBI, wherever, I think they're still going to be playing beyond the season is done. We got lots to get to here. As I mentioned, it's a busy Friday. Logan Campbell will be by here at 9:35. We'll get her thoughts on what she saw last night and a look ahead as she's going to be heading out on the road for the next 3 weeks covering the state basketball tournaments. So we'll visit with that coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, Rob Scherr will join us, the head coach, state champion head coach at Langdon area Edmore-Munich. The Cardinals won Region 4 last night. They're back at the state tournament. We'll talk with him about another dynamic year and how this is all going to shake out. I'm interested in his thoughts as well. This is the last go as we know it for the girls Class B as they'll head out to Minot. Of course, they won the 2020 state championship as an unbeaten season. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, we'll have my dad, who's back from Florida. We'll get the full breakdown from him about how the Daytona 500 ended. I wasn't a big fan of it. I'm not sure anybody was. And now, as we've advanced out of football season, I'm sure he's got some other bets he's got placed, whether it's college hoops, NHL, NBA. He loves betting on hockey, he tells me. So we'll do that before we say goodbye. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Friday. We'll take a break. We come back. A huge day up at the state hockey tournament in Grand Forks. We'll recap that and look ahead to tonight's semifinals. Hot Mike off and rolling on a chilly Friday. We're back after this on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. Hot Mike back with you here on this Friday morning. Email comes in. Dom, my wife really likes the uniforms the Jacks wore. All right, that's got to be the first one. Always somebody likes that, you know. Sure, somebody likes the Buccaneers creamsicle, right? Somebody had to like that. Another email. Dom, I don't understand something. You guys keep showing the Bison women in third place in the standings, but what I think you indicated was the tiebreaker. Since the Bison and Hawks have the same standing and they are 1-1 in head-to-head, the next tiebreaker is record against fourth-place team, which is USD, which the Bison own. Then why aren't they shown in second place? The reason on that is overall wins. UND has more overall wins than NDSU, so that's why right now they are sitting in second at 18 wins. North Dakota State has 17. That's the reason why you see it on our graphic, that it's displayed like that. That's where it shows. So appreciate the emails coming in on that. All right. Yesterday, big day at the state hockey tournament. We had all of the quarterfinal games. You saw them all here on WDAY Extra. And we'll show you our hockey TV lineup here for today. So yesterday we had the 4 quarters. Today, our coverage will begin at noon with the consolation games, which you can stream online, InForum.com, WDAY Sports Plus tab for that. That starts at noon with the first of the consolation matchups, which will be Jamestown against Minot. That'll be followed by Legacy and Century at about 2:15. And then we'll hit the air tonight on WDAY. Note the early start time, 5:30 for the semifinals, which we'll show you who's going to be in that here in just a second, which I think you already know. It's Red River against Cheyenne. And the second game will be Davies against South Shanley. Good rivalry game for the nightcap at about 8 o'clock. Now, let's show you what happened last night. We'll start with the late game. South Shanley and Century playing in the final game of the day. Again, this had been a day dominated by the East heading into this one. And South Shanley gets going right away. They get the first goal of the game to go up 1-0. I love that Century team. Ben LeDuc answers to tie the game at 1. South Shanley gets a power play to start the second period. Jake Verwest scores there to give the Bruins a 2-1 lead in the second. Century ties it up. So it's 2-2 as we go into the third period. And this is a controversial, shall we say, goal on a centering pass that goes in off of Trevor Moe to give the Bruins a 3-2 lead. Now, we have some great camera angles on this. Let's look at this again. Because South Shanley, obviously, and the referees believe it's a clean goal. Century thinks it's kicked in. You can't see anything deliberate there of a kicking motion. I love the overhead angle on stuff like this. And, of course, they go and review it because they want to see it. I don't blame Coach Olson for wanting to get another look at this. And, again, I don't see anything that would be distinct of a kicking motion because, obviously, you can't kick it in. It's ruled a good goal, and South Shanley would hang on and beat Century 3-2 the final, that being the game-winning and clinching goal for the Bruins to send them into the semifinal round. That's a tough way for Century to lose. I thought they played a tight game last night, but that ended up being the go-ahead goal. And I appreciate the fact they reviewed it. As you can see, it was viewed a good goal, and that gives the Bruins a 3-2 win and sending them on to the semifinal round. So, tough way for Century to lose, but congratulations to Dean French and his Bruins who, once again, find a way to advance on. That was only outdone by the game prior to that, where Bismarck Legacy made its debut at the state tournament, facing off against Davies. Now, Davies, as we talked with Nate Metcalf on Monday, they played 4 overtimes on Saturday just to get to state and then play an absolute barn burner of a game here where Legacy got the first goal of the game. Marcus Butt scores. Blake Wimpkin answers, and then the game goes to double overtime, and Owen Dubois gets behind everybody to win it for Davies in double overtime. 2-1 the final is, and that's a monster win for Davies to send them on. They are the Cardiac Kids because remember, they won a overtime game in the EDC semis. They won they lost in overtime in the EDC semis. They win in the state qualifier game in 4 overtimes. They play 2 last night, and now they'll get South Shanley. This reminds me of, I believe, 2020 when those two teams played a epic game that went triple overtime in the state semifinals that South Shanley ended up beating Davies, and then they ran out of gas for the state championship game. Meanwhile, on the other side, Red River had a ho-hum 7-0 win in its opener over Jamestown, where they scored literally 16 seconds into the game yesterday. And then West Fargo Cheyenne, for the second year in a row, the Mustangs win a game in the opening round. Remember, last year they beat Jamestown in the first round. They got the game-winning goal with 21 seconds remaining, or that game was going to overtime as well. Zach Mosier scored the game-winning goal, and they added an empty netter to move on. So those are your matchups coming up tonight on WDAY. It's Red River and Cheyenne in the first game, followed by South Shanley and Davies in the second. And as I mentioned off the top on this, it was another sweep for the East, now 16-0 against the West schools. And I had a couple emails come in on this as well. It says, Don, watching the games yesterday and looking at the results, I'd sum up the East-West gap this way. It isn't that there isn't some good hockey in the West. It just isn't that good enough. There's only one class of hockey. Seed them all, and let's see who makes it to the Ralph. I'm on board with that. I don't know if there's a lot of support, obviously, out West for that because they'd be taking opportunities away from those teams. And I mean, you look at, and this is no fault of Jamestown. I think they ran into a buzzsaw with Red River. Minot, Legacy, Century, good teams, to the emailer's point, just not good enough. And for the teams that are sitting at home, I'm sure if you're Fargo North, you're watching that, like, well, I think we'd have a heck of a chance maybe to win a game. And again, I don't doubt that. You want to have, ultimately, you want the 8 best teams there. And I think that even goes to our 3-class discussion as well, of having, every region represented. I don't know if it's about that. It's just we want the 8 best teams there. And you don't want the 2 best playing in the first round. If we can ensure that, hello, Minnesota football, then that would be great. And I don't know if we're getting the 8 best boys hockey teams at the state tournament. The girls do not have region tournaments. They take the top 8. The top 8 in the standings advance on and will play next week in Minot. I think more often than not, you have seen the 2 best teams play in the state championship in girls hockey. It's been an upset a time or two, but more often than not, you get the 2 very best there. Would that be a parade of East teams? Maybe, but don't you want the very best to play the best to win the whole thing? Rather than making sure everyone's represented? I think it's a discussion we can have when the season is done. I'm going to ask around on that. I'm curious what the vibe is in Grand Forks about that, too. If there's any momentum to say, hey, it's been 4 years now where a West team hasn't advanced out of the quarterfinal round. Be interesting to see. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Logan will join us. We'll break down what we saw last night from Bison Hoops. A few other topics to chat about as well. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns on a Friday morning. Back after this on WDAY Extra at InForum.com. All right. Logan's here in studio. We got the answer. I always love our viewers. I appreciate the hard work that some do on this. We've got an answer. I don't know if you saw the Jackrabbits attire last night. Did you see this?
Yeah, horrendous.
So we have an answer. Apparently it was Military Appreciation Night, which I'm not going to say anything else other than that, but somebody's got to get better than that. I mean, they could do better than that. I don't know if it's some sort of camouflage.
Well, imagine just watching them in those uniforms running around. I feel like that would kind of hurt your eyes.
It's not good.
No.
It's not
yeah,
good.
I did not really like that. A little too much camo for me.
We can bring it up again, Kyle. These are the jerseys that they wore last night in South Dakota State's win over Kansas City. That's what they decided to go with. So, again, it was Military Appreciation Night. Do you not have enough slack on your headphones there? Are you doing okay?
It was wrapped up.
Okay, you're all set now?
Yeah,
all right.
we're good. We're settled in.
We can start our segment now?
Yeah, we can start in.
All right. So, we started this off the top of the show, and I know you visited with Grant Nelson's parents on Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about this at the end of the show, or at the end of the game last night. And I think it's the elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. Is like there's no seniors on the Bison men's basketball team, but I think it's appropriate to talk about that. Is this it for Grant Nelson? We don't know. I think some of us have a hint that there is something bigger
Right.
coming.
Well, we don't know. Apparently, he doesn't really know
Yeah.
either. His parents told me that he wants to wait till the end of the season to start making decisions, but he needs to make a decision when it comes to an agent by mid-March. They said literally thousands of agents are pitching themselves to Grant, and his oldest brother is taking the load and just trying to navigate through all of this. They said they reached out to Carson Wentz and tried to figure out if he could help him get through. They're waiting to hear back from him.
Okay.
So,
because Carson's older brother Zach did all that. Zach was the guy that did all the heavy lifting when Carson's playing days at NDSU were done. Like Zach became the middleman for all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
Yeah, but they said they're keeping all options on the table, whether that's transferring, staying at NDSU even, or going NBA. Their Spurs were there last night. His dad came up to me and told me that they were talking with him a little bit. So I don't know. I think all options are on the table. He's really just keeping an open mind about it. But the biggest thing, and I said this last night on the broadcast, is they want him to stay honorable and represent North Dakota, NDSU, and Devils Lake as best as he can.
My gut says he's gone. I don't think he's coming back. Whether it's the NBA or another high major, I think that's where I think it's going to go.
I would agree. I would be shocked if he came back. I feel like if he did come back, it would be because of his family who's all still here. And I was talking with some people yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, no seniors, like no senior day." I was like, "Should we call it Grant Nelson Day?" And they're like, "Don't say that, like don't say that, Logan." But I would be very surprised if he did come back.
I said this a few years ago, beyond way before the NBA stuff was a reality. Literally after his freshman year, and we can check the tapes on this, because I would be surprised if he stayed his whole career here, just because of his unique ability. After his freshman year, he was the freshman of the year in the league. He was the sixth man of the year. There's too much here, and the portal was just really getting started with college basketball. That I would have been hard pressed if he would have stayed his entire 4 years, let alone this whole other angle of the NBA to come into it. And it's different again for people that don't understand this or don't know the process. He can hire an agent. He can declare for the draft. He can enter the draft, but he can still pull out and play another year of actually 2 years of college basketball if he so chooses, because he's got his COVID year if he wants to do that.
From talking with sources close to him, it seems like he's going to try and get invited to the combine, go through the draft process, and then decide however that goes. Then he's going to decide whether he goes back to school or go to the NBA.
So, and for avid basketball fans in the area, they've known this, that Max Asmus has done this the last couple of years at Oral Roberts. Baylor Shireman did it last year at South Dakota State. And I look at Shireman as the perfect example, because he could have returned to SDSU and decided, well, wait a minute, Creighton, who's in his own backyard, which is Omaha, and a massive NIL deal landed in his lap, and now he's playing for whatever they are, the 15th, 16th ranked team in the country. That makes a lot of sense. I've been told there are highly recognizable schools that are
I don't doubt that
very
for a second.
interested in his services.
Don't doubt that for a second.
You can put two and two together on what highly recognizable is, but it wouldn't surprise me if any blue bloods are interested there.
No.
That's why tomorrow is so interesting. There's a ton at stake, but also I hope, even for myself, and I've watched the kid, I've called the kid's games for the last 5 years, just to have some appreciation that this may be it tomorrow.
And he's so fun to watch. So fun. And just the plays that he does, I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to see next year if he's not here?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's going to be a lot different. And I was just sitting next to him last night during shoot-around. Just same old Grant. There's nothing literally nothing has changed about him in the 5 years that I've seen him and know him since his junior year in high school, except obviously the fanfare around this is different.
Well, and everyone says that. I talked to his high school coach. He said he's the same old Grant that he was in high school.
Yep.
His parents said he's the same old Grant that he was when he was a little kid. Dave Richmond even said on your show he's the same Grant that he was when he first walked in the door, which I think that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're getting all this stuff fed to you. Like, to not have your ego blow up, that's just pretty incredible.
I don't know how he doesn't.
Right.
But, it's fun. And we've been through this several times, and I mentioned this also on the NFL draft. We've experienced this. The Wentz phenomenon was something else, and I will never have that again. Even with Trey Lance, even to last year with Christian Watson, and it's going to happen now with Cody Mauch here in the next couple months. We haven't experienced this on the basketball side.
No.
And this is completely foreign, I think, to some to say, well, wait a minute, he can do this and then still play college basketball. I think that's what people are going to have
people
really
at NDSU were like,
hard time with that.
Yeah, people at NDSU are like, we've never done this before, so we're trying to figure it out too, just like he's trying to figure it out. So, I mean, I think it's a fun process, and his parents said that they thought at some point this might happen, but never this big. They never thought that this was ever happened to them in Grant. And the funny thing is, they told me that his youngest brother, Joel, who plays at Devil's Lake, is going to be so much better than Grant. So they said, we're glad we're getting the experience now, so we know what to do when Joel gets to this point in college.
And it's pretty neat because the Devil's Lake boys came to a game a couple weekends ago and got the whole tour, and I know that they were in awe of that. They're having a heck of a year, actually, on the boys' side of things. Right now, they're in 4th in the EDC and could be right back at the Shack here in a couple weeks for the State A basketball tournament, which would be pretty neat because I believe Grant be allowed to watch that. There's some technicalities with that, but I'm sure he would find a way if his boys make it to the state tournament here in a couple weeks, which you're going to be at.
Yes.
This is the last time I'm going to see you face to face on Fridays because you're going to be out all over the state here after this week.
I was thinking about it. I was like, this is really my last weekend of sleep until April, which I'm so excited about. I operate best with minimal amounts of sleep, I come to find out. But I'm so excited to do the tournament because I didn't get to do it last year. So it'll be really fun.
So you leave Wednesday for Minot, the girls' State B. You, Cullen Holt, and Lynette. Lynette's the best. You've met Lynette,
yeah,
right?
She's great.
Lynette's awesome. So, and she is a cult figure with the State B. So everybody will come up and say hi to her. So she,
I'm sure.
I know she's excited about that. Then the State A here in Fargo. So at least you get to be home for a couple days. And then the boys' State B going on in Bismarck. So excited for you to get an opportunity on that.
Me too. It should be a lot of fun.
All right, before we go, we got a couple pieces of video we got to show you from your guy. We talked about the XFL season beginning.
Oh.
I'm sure your timeline blew up that even last night, Ben DiNucci, James Madison's own XFL superstar for, I believe it's the Seattle Sea Dragons?
Yep.
Quote unquote.
I think that's their name. Seattle something.
So Sunday night, you apparently had a bunch of friends that were at the game against the DC Defenders.
Yeah.
Our guy DiNucci, go ahead, play the video, guys, had this touched to Josh Gordon, former NFL wide receiver. Only Ben DiNucci can throw a backhanded touchdown pass like that.
I mean, good for him for making it work, but it's just so strange. You know, something I found out is he has like a really famous hat company in Dallas.
What?
Yeah. Him and Dak Prescott, I guess, have this hat company. I had no idea. You know, like the upside down Dallas hats?
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
I think so.
That's his company.
No kidding.
Yeah. So making moves on and off the field.
And then he did this last night against the St. Louis Battlehawks. You can't contain Ben DiNucci. You just get out of the way there.
Representing JMU. Let's go.
There you go.
I mean, hey, we love to see a Duke succeed, right?
So you're all over on the Seattle Sea Dragons, apparently.
Their biggest fan.
Yeah, I bet you are.
But no, apparently the DC game was electric. That's what everyone
Electric?
said. Stupid lit was the direct quote I got.
Stupid lit.
Do you want to take a guess of what that means?
I'm assuming it's exciting. I don't. There's something in that.
Stupid lit. They thought people were going to storm the field after the game. I think they lost those.
Oh my God.
The lemons were getting thrown on the field.
Yeah, because they took the beer cup snake away.
So my friends,
right?
I guess, were the ones that started that.
Really?
And they were like so mad. Like the videos I was seeing, the videos they were sending me, I was like, you guys got to get it together. But I want to go back and go to one of those games at some point. However long the XFL lasts.
Yeah, well, you better hurry because I'm not sure if it's going to be around all that much longer. Before we go, the U.S. women's national team won the She Believes Cup again last night.
Legends. Yep.
They beat Canada last night, right? I believe that's what they knocked off. So that's the last tune-up because I think people forget the Women's World Cup is this summer because after we had the Men's World Cup in the middle of the winter, the Women's World Cup is in Australia, New Zealand, if I remember right.
I'm not sure where it is,
it's in the middle of the night, which is unfortunate because.
Oh, I'll be staying up to watch.
But you will. I don't know how many others will, which is disappointing because they are
so good.
They are legit. They're the best team in the world, and there are other really good. The English women's team is really good. The Canadian women's team is really good. The French women's team is really good. I hate it that it's in the middle of the night because nobody's going to watch, and they deserve to have a really big audience.
It stinks, but the true fans will stay up and watch. And honestly, I think women's soccer has grown, especially
There's no doubt.
with what they have done compared to the men. I think that their audience has grown a little bit over the past few years, but still, it's exciting for them.
Yep.
I mean, they put USA on the map they're pretty much the only team that puts you on the map right now. So it's exciting. And those girls, I grew up in DC, and a lot of them come from there.
You're
One
right.
of them went to my my orthodontist, actually. And
Oh,
they're a great group of women. So they're fun to watch, and they're good role models for a bunch of young women athletes. So it'll be fun to watch. I'll be watching. Even Brazil. I love watching Brazil, too. My dad grew up in Brazil, so growing up, we'd always watch every Brazil game. So
Marta, were you a big Marta fan? Gosh, she was really good.
I am, but sometimes I don't like the lipstick she wears, though. So I'm just like,
Is she still playing, or is she retired?
I think she might have retired last year.
Okay.
It was very recent if she did. Yeah.
Is Rapinoe still going too?
Yeah.
And she's still badass too.
She's a
She's really,
beast.
really good. So
She's so good. And I think Alex Morgan's still going.
Which is I mean, just the fact that because they have been around forever and they're still playing at that high level.
Well, and it's so weird because growing up, I played competitive soccer at a high level. Some girl I would play every single weekend is on the women's team playing with these people we grew up watching. And I'm like, okay, that's like sweet. Like she was able to go and succeed in soccer, and here I am not playing in a sport.
all right.
We're doing all right. We're doing something with sports, but we're not playing.
You're going to go to Minot, North Dakota next week.
Hell yeah,
Come on
I'm
now.
pumped. While she's in Australia playing soccer. Well, it'll be fun, though.
You got the better end of that deal.
Oh, I think so. I don't have to run anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Logan Campbell, she'll be on the call of our final Bison men's basketball broadcast tomorrow, and then off for the state tournaments, which obviously are underway, and our basketball tournament coverage begins next Thursday. We'll take a break. We'll come back, wrap up hour one on a busy Friday morning. Hot Mike returns right after this on WDAY Extra at InForum.com. All right, wrap it up here. Our first hour, our thanks to Logan Campbell for joining us. Rob Scherr coming up from Langdon-Edmore-Munich as the Cardinals are heading back to the Girls State B for a sixth straight year. We can actually show you here. We was going to do this earlier in the show. We just ran out of time. Of the region qualifiers that have made it to state, 6 of them are completed. Region 1 and Region 3 will be decided tonight. The Region 3 championship game in Jamestown will feature Lytton HMB against Edgley Cullen Montpelier. Lytton HMB has always had a great team. That'll be a fun matchup in Jamestown. The Region 1 championship game is tonight at the Shack between Central Cass and Northern Cass. That'll be a fun game tonight. Region 2 went to Thompson. Congrats to Jason Brend and the Tommies. We had Jason on the show on Monday as they'll back at state for the first time since 2019. Langdon-Edmore-Munich won Region 4 last night. 6 years in a row that the Cardinals have won that region. So we talk about changing things up and being dominant in one region. There you go with Region 4. Region 5 goes to the Garrison Lady Troopers. Garrison beat Shiloh last night. I know nobody's going to feel sorry about that outside of the kids at Shiloh Christian. As Garrison won it 70-58. So Garrison is going to state for the first time since 1999. 23 years for the Troopers to make it. So 24 years, for them to make it. So congratulations to them. We'll see them at state next week. Rugby is back at state. The Panthers, of course, the state runners-up in 2019. Last made it in 2020. They're back representing Region 6. Region 7 goes to Bowman County as they won last night in the Region 7 championship game, beating Grant County Mott Region. So they're back at state for the first time since 2008. And Region 8 goes to Kenmare Bowbells as the Honkers are back at state for a third straight year. We had, of course, Coach Mike Zimmer on the show on Tuesday, and they win it again. So congratulations to those 6 teams as they will represent those particular regions at the state tournament, with Regions 1 and 3 to be decided tonight. So you've got a little bit a mix here of familiar faces and some new teams. Bowman County and Garrison come right to mind. And depending on who wins tonight, you could have even longer droughts. Northern Cass hasn't been at the State B since 2005. Lytton HMB and Edgley Cullen Montpelier also trying to end some droughts there. I know the Edgeley Cullen Montpelier Co-op boys team was the state runners-up in 2021. The girls are trying to end that drought. But I will tell you this, and our good friend and colleague Brad Anderson made this point the other day on his radio show, that Region 3 seems to have been recycled. There seems to be new champions every year. That's the good competitive part of this. But Region 1, it's either Central Cass or Kindred has played in the region championship game for 18 consecutive years. There's no wonder why they want 3 classes. Kick those guys out and get somebody new in there. That's why when I saw the Region 5 score last night, I was stunned that Shiloh lost. I mean, they won the whole thing when it was a 2016 in Grand Forks. They won the state championship. It's almost been automatic that they're there. They have the talented Haley Kwam, who transferred from Wilton Wing. I think people remember her, that got them to the state semis in 21. She went to Shiloh. They made state last year, but come up short here as Garrison will make it, and we'll visit with their team coming up, I believe, on the show on Monday to give them some love before they head to the State B in Minot. Our coverage of that begins next Thursday. You'll see all the games on WDAY and InForum.com. We'll bring you all 4 quarterfinals next Thursday, the semifinals on Friday, and the championship on Saturday. That'll be preceded, of course, by the girls hockey state championship, which also will be played in Minot next week. So we got a bunch of stuff coming as we turn the calendar into March. We'll take a break. We come back. We'll start hour 2. Rob Scherr will join us. His team is again getting things ready for the girls state B in Minot. We'll visit with him when Hot Mike hour 2 begins right after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Friday morning edition of Hot Mike here on this chilly Friday in February, the last one. Busy sports weekend on tap as we wrap up the college basketball regular season. The Northern Sun basketball tournament resumes this weekend in Sioux Falls. I actually got an airing of grievances to do about that coming up in our next segment. We'll dive into that. We've, of course, got the state hockey tournament wrapping it up this weekend. The girls in Minnesota are playing down there. The boys section tournament, it's just enough to make one's head spin, which is what is the best part of the year. We were talking about before we wrapped up hour 1, the teams that have qualified for the girls State B basketball tournament, which is directly ahead of us in Minot as it returns to the Minot State Dome next week. And no stranger to being back at the State B is our next guest, who's been on TV as much in March over the last 6 years as I have, as we welcome on the head coach at Langdon-Edmore-Munich, Mr. Rob Scherr, is good enough to join us here on a Friday after another region championship. Congratulations, my man. I know these don't get old, but the emotions last night of accomplishing this and going back to state, what was that last night?
Yeah, they don't. They're all different. Every year you go. I mean, it's sometimes you're favored, sometimes you're not. And I mean, we came out and we faced a very tough team that really went at us with intensity, and we gutted it out at the end. And they're all special. And obviously to move on to the big dance, especially since it's the last Class B tournament.
I want to get to that in a second because I know there's got to be some strong emotions there. You have not lost since the calendar went to 2023. What's been the magic elixir here? What's turned things around, or what winning combination have you found?
Well, you could have went different directions. Obviously everyone has a new team coming back, and we have a new direction, new things, things we need to do to make them better and change things. You can't always do the same for every team. And we came back, and honestly, I thought we had 5 very solid starters. But the problem is you come back from volleyball into basketball shape, it's quite a difference. And our drop off, and nothing against our girls, but our drop off from the 5 to the next was quite large. And I didn't want to put those girls in a bad spot coming in, especially our schedule was so tough right away. I think 5, 6 top 10 teams that were ranked early, and we really came in, and I tried to play those girls, 5 girls against those star teams, and they had 7, 8, 9 girls, and we got gassed at the end. And I mean, a double-edged sword. You play them, play them into shape. You get them to what needs to be done as we move on, or try to throw some kids who just aren't ready yet, and then maybe destroy them against this tough competition, and so I stuck with the 5, and we got some foul trouble or tired at the end, and we just couldn't pull those games out. But it really helped us after that when we got in condition mainly.
When did you start to see that you were rounding into form? Was it right after New Year's that, all right, we're getting our legs underneath us?
Yes, it was. We actually, right before that week, before New Year's, we went to Carrington, who was a top 10 team. Then from there, we drove to Minot and played Shiloh, who was a top 10 team. Then we drove back to Langdon, and the next morning at 8 o'clock, we drove all the way to Central Cass to play. I tell you, you don't play 3 teams. We were not ready to play 3 tough teams like that quickly in 4 days. Yeah. And I honestly think Central Cass, we got beat by 21. We didn't play well because they're solid too. But I think after that, we're like, hey, we can play. We just got to get in shape. We're doing better. And we set a new goal then. Obviously, we were 3-5 at the time. We're not going to lose in this new year and the regular season. Then we went 13-0. Then we did the 3 region. And now we have to make a new goal, obviously.
As we mentioned off the top here, 6 years in a row. I mean, when you got there, did you even have the blueprint to say, okay, we can be really successful? Like, is this even beyond your wildest imaginations of having this kind of dominance in this region?
It is. I mean, you come in, you can always have a good group, but they graduate. And to go 6 years in a row, you graduated good kids or good talent, great leaders, but you have to have new ones step in. And I think the key is you get a foundation for your group, and the work ethic, Dom, has to be tremendous, because nowadays it's tough to find kids who want to go out and run and work as hard as we have to be successful. And kids do step down. They don't want to put in the time. They don't want to work. And no offense, I love them to death, whatever, that's your choice. But for us to be successful, you got to come in and work. And you come from volleyball where you probably don't run as much to a team like this. And, it takes special kids to come out and dedicate themselves all year to a program.
To even have this kind of run, though, I'm interested, though, after you guys won, I would think it would be you'd have more that want to come out and play. Was that the case? Did you have more participation, or did that not affect the numbers as much as you'd hope?
Well, it really didn't. I think it's a double edge on that, because they want to be a part of a successful program, but when they come and see, we don't overwork them like that, but you have to be in shape to play basketball. I mean, the bottom line, if you're not in shape, your fundamentals break down, everything breaks down, and it just doesn't go well. So to help you be at your best, you got to be strong, your fundamentals then improve everything when you're in shape. The girls do not like certain drills that we do that are running drills, and they'll name them to you and they go, hey coach, we get to run 7-minute again, because we have more practices. And I go, you got that right. And they're actually excited for it now. And I was pretty happy. But the thing is, they have to know, they spread it that, hey, we work hard and we're proud of it. And some just don't have the work ethic and whatever. And but the girls keep great leadership, keeps them working hard, and they know when they come into our program, they're going to work hard, and they see that hard work brings success. And it might not always get you to a state tournament, but it gets you to be as best as you can be. And we've been willing. You see our team this year, you will be shocked as how we adjusted. We shoot a lot. We shoot quick. We shoot a lot of threes, and it's something that I'm adapting to as well. But that's what our talent shows us, and the girls play it well.
So you're telling me you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I think the new way is getting me, even new style of shoes. Oh, those do look kind of nice. Geez, coach, you are adapting well, and so anyway. But no, it's fun. It keeps you young, and they do teach me a lot as well. But they know we change things for what's best for our group. We're always honest with them, tell them why we're doing it. This is what's best for us, and they buy in 100%.
So you're telling me you're going to be looking stylish on TV next Thursday then? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, I do wash my clothes, but I wear the same thing every game. So it's not that I didn't, Like one of the girls wants is superstitious like crazy, and she always wears, and it's like, hey, you gotta wash that tank top, girl.
To get back there, and I know you've had plenty of success, and most of them have been there and done that, but how will you address this week, even though, hey, we've been there, we've done that, but it's a new group like you talked about, and the preparation and just getting to the dome and all that. How will you address that this coming week?
Well, I'm going to really talk a lot on it, on the conditions, on things, on how we are this year. We dug a big hole being 3-5.
Yeah.
So having a 5 loss with the talent that's going to make this state tournament, we're going to be a draw, most likely, and coming in, that's new for us, being a draw. Being a draw, you are an underdog. You have to come in and give, and that intensity, like we have to have, that, hey, we got nothing to lose. We're coming in, and, like I tell them every day, I think they're special. I mean, I think they're just a tough matchup. They're a tough matchup to draw. They can play good defense. They can shoot. They can move the ball. We can go inside out. My center is one of my best 3-point shooters. So, I mean, things like that. So, I mean, we have a lot of weapons, we feel, when we move. Sometimes we don't move. But the thing is, they can come in and just set a new tone for themselves. Last year we struggled after we really played well after game 1. And someone on our team brought a little drama to our team in the state tournament. And these girls want to reload that and play better these last. And, that's not who we are or were.
I know we've talked about this in the past, but is there a disadvantage of when you play? I know you don't love that early game, and the late game, nobody wants to play. But does that matter? Is that more a mental thing?
Well, I think it is a mental thing, but we played a lot of games at like 1, 2 o'clock this year on Saturdays. We don't like playing at 3:30, 4:30. I mean, let's play early, and because everyone kind of talks on that. They don't want to play in the early afternoon, but most likely if you're a draw team, you're going to be playing at 1 or 2:30 or, maybe the first game of the night. So your chances of playing in the afternoon are quite, 2 out of 3.
I got to ask, I haven't had a chance to talk to you. We've talked with the breadth of the state here, Rob, about what's coming. You mentioned it's going to be the last, as we know it, of Class A and Class B. Langdon is staying as a Class B school, but give me your thoughts on what's ahead and what do you make of this 3-class idea?
Well, going around and talking to everyone and seeing the wide variety from just schools, from a upper Class B school to some of the smaller schools and the facilities, and some of them have 3 gyms in their school, and we're lucky to have 1, and so the thing is, you see it was wide, and I think it'll help. The girls' participation in basketball I've been following has been dropping. And a lot of it, I think, they're stemming from the difference. And, some teams might have one good team in 10 years and they still can't compete with some that are in a regional championship every year, and the thing is, they're hoping it'll help increase, people playing, but I think what really hurt and it started to drop is when volleyball went to the first, and people going from volleyball to basketball, it's night and day. And I think that's been a big contributor to a lot of girls mainly not coming out. But I think it might be a good thing. They're going to it quick. So there's going to be some learning, a lot of learning right away. But I think in the most part that everyone I talked to has been pretty happy to see what's going to come of this.
So for your region, I'm looking at who you're going to be paired with. Are these typical opponents you would play most of the time? Is your schedule going to change much at all?
It does change quite a bit because we have our athletic director, Ethan Axvig, has been just wonderful since I came up here. He asks advice on everything because I'm in charge of the program. I mean, he wants me to have a big voice on who we play and what. And we will travel anywhere to play anyone who's, up to win or lose. It helps you become a better team. Like us losing 5 games early helped us. It did. It helped us learn. And the thing is, he's been really good on that. Now a lot of those middle teams don't want to play you, and they're teams we played all the time. think, like Thompson and Grafton will play us. I was real happy with that, but a lot of those middle teams will not play us next year. So we're more of playing in our league now, and our numbers are dropping too. I think next year we only have 3 kids in 5th and 6th grade girls basketball.
Wow.
Yeah, we're low numbers too coming up.
That's interesting on that. I am curious for people that will go to Minot next week and embrace that, knowing full well how it's going to be different next year. And I've had people talk to me about this, about choosing what they're going to go to next year if they're playing at the same time. If it's the girls Class A that's happening in Minot or the girls Class B in Jamestown, that, you know this, you run into fans that go there every single year just to go, and now they're going to have to choose. And that, to me, is really interesting to see how that's going to play out, because there's going to be separation there, I would imagine.
There has to be. And the big thing for me growing up is, I love watching, obviously, Class B basketball, and I love them on TV and I'm sure that's a challenge too, getting them on, And the thing is, it's going to be interesting because I love these tournaments, and now you're going to be pick and choosing. I wish there was some way they could put, like in Minot at the Dome, and that auditorium could host having 2 tournaments there like they do in Class A, right now. And I wish they could get something together where there'd be more than 1 tournament in a town at a time, and you could kind of go back and forth. I love watching basketball. And sometimes I get lazy and watch it on the line here and too much, but when it's this cold, sometimes I don't blame anyone, but I love watching basketball. So I want to watch as much as possible, and it's fun. I love watching kids compete.
All right. So now that you guys have done this so frequently, do you still get the big parade and send off next week, or is like, they've been there before, it's old hat?
I tell you, they get winning gets gets more expected or more it's usual. So
expectations rise,
it does
right?
go down as the more you win. It does go down. The first times fire trucks are meeting you, bringing you into town all over, and meeting you and girls and having little pep rallies and all that. And it hasn't gone down a little. And I told the girls that's good though. I mean, they expect this out of you. You're carrying the tradition. I mean, because no team wants to be the one that doesn't go to the state tournament. I will tell you that. They're worried about that. We don't want to be the one that doesn't go and breaks, and so, but they're great kids. They work hard, and but it definitely has simmered down as we went.
Well, I told you when you won the whole thing unbeaten, like there's nowhere else to go, man. This is the pinnacle.
I know. You would not believe how many people slap me for coming back and coaching the next year. That's when you step down. It's like you don't go on. You can't pick a better way. You get your 400th win. You're the state champions, undefeated. But
right off into the sunset, man. Right? I hear you.
Yeah, it's like you can't ride off better than that, I guess. But here I am, and we're still. So
yeah, you're still winning, man. That's the thing. There are 100 some other teams that love to be in your spot this morning. That's the reality about it.
Yeah, there's 100 Class B, almost 98, 97 Class B schools. I mean, quite an honor to be one of the top 8.
It's great to see you as always. Congratulations. Safe travels out to Minot. Look forward to seeing your team play next week, okay?
All right. Hope you see a good team, and I love that cardinal on the back of your wall.
I'm doing that. There you go. Good to see you, man.
Right,
thanks again.
Tom.
There he goes. Rob Scherr, head coach at Langdon-Edmore-Munich. The Cardinals won again in Region 4, and we'll find out the pairings for the girls' State B. I imagine later tonight. I'll have to ask Stace on that because we have 2 region championships, so maybe by 9:30 tonight we should have the girls' Class B field. And we'll, of course, let you know during our state hockey broadcasts and, of course, online, and get you ready for that next week. We're overdue for a break. We come back. An airing of grievances against the Northern Sun Conference because they're hosing one of their own schools by no fault of their own. We'll talk about that when Hot Mike returns right after this. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I just got an email sent to me. This makes me feel good when you see the weather outside. The Mets game is streamed today on SNY on MLB TV. So there you go. think the Twins play their first split squad coming up tomorrow. And the spring training season is underway. All right, so we mentioned this earlier in the week on the Northern Sun Conference Tournament. We had Matt Merkin on the show from Minot State as the Beavers had their thrilling win Tuesday to beat Southwest State to advance on to the Pentagon, and you heard all the travails. And if you missed that, go. It was one of our best interviews of the week at InForum.com. You can podcast that of what all they had to do. They got stuck. Just getting there, getting back was a whole deal. And I know Mother Nature has been unbearable this week, but it's affected in a way where it's now it's taken away a game for the University of Mary women's basketball team. Story came out, I believe, yesterday. I want to say, yesterday morning. UMary was supposed to host Wayne State in the opening round of the women's tournament on Wednesday in Bismarck. Obviously, the weather affected that. That came out, I want to say, Tuesday night that they weren't going to be able to play. Now, there had been some forethought on other games, as you heard Matt say, where they had moved up the Minot State Southwest State game to Tuesday to make sure it got in. I don't know if that didn't happen here or what, but Wayne couldn't get here, and they ended up postponing the game. Again, UMary earned the home game. The decision came out yesterday from the conference that the game will be played today, but not in Bismarck. Instead, in Sioux Falls, at the Stewart Center in Sioux Falls. You see, there's the announcement on that. And then they moved the bracket around because to allow for more, quote-unquote, recovery time for the winner of the game, because that was supposed to be played at 1:30 tomorrow. Now it's going to be played at, I think, 7:30 tomorrow night. And this is a hose job here. There's no other way. I understand that Mother Nature gets in the way, but and we've had Rick Newman on the show, and I asked him to come on. He declined. That there's been some pushback that the league was not thrilled. I think of a social media post that went out. But I'll say it, and I'm sure others, and I had an email about it as well as yesterday. Our good friend Zach Dosh, who I know is a UMary alum and diehard supporter of it, said this is completely unfair. I'm not sure why they couldn't find another avenue to do this or to play it. Evidently they couldn't, but you're penalizing UMary for nothing that was out of their control. I don't know if they attempted to play the game earlier in the week. Maybe they did. But here, this just seems rotten. And you've leveled it now for Wayne State, where clearly they don't have as much of travel. Going from Wayne, Nebraska to Sioux Falls is certainly a lot easier than going from Wayne to Bismarck, North Dakota. So travel becomes not nil, but it certainly goes way down. And that's the advantage of playing at home in the opening round. If you don't get the bye, then you want to earn a home game. And more often than not, the home teams have won on this. Here's Zach's tweet. Thanks for finding this, guys. In exchange for losing a home playoff game and a rest day, because for some reason it's okay for Wayne to not show up for a game, the potential UMary women's basketball game on Saturday gets pushed back a couple hours. And that's the tweet they put out on Wednesday, adjusting for the UMary Wayne State game that was supposed to be played at 1:30, now to be played at 7 o'clock. The winner to get Mankato tomorrow night. It smells rotten. I don't like it, and I get it. You're up against the schedule here because this is when we're playing. You know, they're not moving the tournament back unless it got really, really bad. And you heard already what Minot State had to go through just to get its game in with Southwest. And Concordia St. Paul, the women's team came up here to play the Dragons on Wednesday. They actually won that game. They were staying over Wednesday night into yesterday before they were going to venture back to the Twin Cities, then eventually on to Sioux Falls. Heck, I think they were actually going straight to Sioux Falls, from here. And after winning the game and staying over on Thursday. It's a tough deal there for everybody involved. And if Wayne made the overtures on this that they didn't want to come up here, then I don't understand how that's Mary's fault. But either way, they lose the home field or home court advantage, and now B, they've got a little more rest potentially if they win tonight to play against a really good Mankato team coming up tomorrow. It's a rotten deal all around, and it's tough for them. But I know visiting with Rick just briefly, I got a sense this may galvanize his team, and we'll see how they play. And that goes on. There's another thing to add onto the pile this weekend as the Northern Sun tournaments hit Sioux Falls for the quarterfinal games. The Dragon women lost that their season ended by Concordia St. Paul. The Dragon men are in action Sunday night as they'll play, and that is a dynamite tournament. I say it every year. It backs it up. I was visiting with Freddie Coleman about this because Freddie's going to have some of the games. Actually, he's going to be part of all the games on Midco starting tomorrow. It never fails to deliver some high drama and some great basketball. Of course, the Dragons are the reigning tournament champions when they beat Minnesota Duluth last year. Saul Phillips' team is loaded at Northern State. Duluth's really good on the men's side. The Duluth women are stacked. It's going to be a dynamite tournament to play out over the next 4 days down in Sioux Falls. We'll take a break. We come back. The segment everybody is waiting to see. My dad will join us to recap his exploits in Florida. Can he fix NASCAR's weird ending? We'll discuss that and a bunch more when Hot Mike returns on a Friday morning. We're back after this.
If that was me and you, if you'd have went with a Boston, you'd have been living in the garage. I had a Yankee hat on, of course, which I usually almost always do, but she says to me, if I were you, I'd take that hat off. And I looked at what look at it to begin with. I ain't taking my hat off. I know where I am. Yeah, right.
You believe anything that guy says? Because I don't.
He said he was going to marry J-Lo, too, remember? I finally told your mom. I said, there's no sense. Let's just put TVs in the room because I'm only going to wake them up anyway. So
that's how I got a television? All righty. It's time for our favorite segment. Hopefully everybody with shirts on this week as my dad is back from Daytona. I had the censors were ready to come out if your buddy's not wearing shirts last week, all right? I wasn't mentally prepared for that.
It was 85 degrees. What do you expect, man? That's camping.
Did you tell them they were going to be on TV, man? Come on.
They had shorts on. What more you want?
Shirts. That's what I want. I want shirts.
Sorry.
Well, you're back. Tell us about it. How was it fun? I'm gonna rip the race in a second, but first, did you have a good time?
Oh yeah, I had a blast.
And
you can't, just 2 hours away from 85 degrees is just crazy, man. We're sitting here freezing, but we had a blast. I was ready to come home.
And the weather was great. At least race day, it looked like it was fantastic. The clouds came in, but you had a good day for the race.
No, we wanted the clouds, man. That sun was busting. I did anyway. I said, me and the sun. I don't, That's the only bummer about that is you're right out in the wide open sun.
Yeah, there's nothing covering you out there. So
I'll tell you what, I don't know what you guys seen on TV, but the flyover.
Yeah.
They did that 5 times.
Really?
Yeah, it was unbelievable, man. They come up from behind us, which nobody could see.
Yep.
And they just scared the crap right out of everybody, man. They just roared right past us, and it was unreal.
5 times? Why did they do it so much? That's crazy.
It must have been it was 75th anniversary.
Oh,
so
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And we could the day before, we could actually see them practicing at my buddy's house.
No kidding. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it was unreal.
We only saw the one, at least that I remember. We only saw the one time that they showed it on TV.
I was wondering that on TV, but there was 5 times they buzzed us, man, from one end of the track to the other. It was awesome.
All right, so give us your breakdown of how the race went, and Ricky Stenhouse won it. What did you make of the actual race?
That wasn't bad. I heard a lot of people complaining about it, but it was you don't see as much on TV as you do at the track.
Right.
But it's a Chevy one, so I ain't gonna complain, but you know what I mean?
I have 2 gripes. I have 2 gripes with it, if I'm allowed to do that, because you know how much I watch. the biggest wreck of the day, they were in commercial. I wasn't a fan of that.
No.
They were doing side by side. I know they got to pay the bills, but you got to show, because it wasn't like also rans who were in the wreck. These were like your big names that crashed out. Okay,
I didn't know that, but I see on Twitter they're just ripping the heck out of Fox for everything,
and that's
too
why
many commercials.
Yeah, and that's why the big wreck, they were in commercial. Second,
I don't understand this though. Why is Fox? Because I get Fox free, like in the garage with an antenna.
Yep.
They have to have more commercials. This is what they're saying. But FS1 you pay for, so you don't have as many.
Correct. Yes.
Well, that's just crazy. But
second, I think for the average fan they only watch that race, right? That's the only race they watch all year. It was still really confusing how the race ended. You know what I mean? Like, why do they do that, and how do they got to that finish, and it's still finished under caution? You know what I mean?
Well, they could have 100 restarts,
right?
And it wasn't, they can't just keep doing that. So once you take the white flag on a green white checker, then that's the end of the race, and that's what happened.
Because
we knew they were wrecking, but we knew the leader already passed us, so he was getting the white flag. That was over.
Okay, so when that wreck happened, they had already passed where you were, you were sitting. Okay.
Yeah, they were just coming back to us for an awesome finish, and it just blew it.
That always happens.
But it happens. What are you gonna do? That's that type of racing. It's
how long ago did NASCAR change it? It's been over a decade where they do the green white checker, because they were having too many. They were having too many cautions that were finishing
98. That's how Earnhardt won.
Yeah,
it ended under caution, but that's the way it was. Now Kyle Busch would have won the race if that's what happened. He led lap 200, so and he's never won it. Yeah. So he's got to be pretty upset about that.
And they ended up going 212 laps. Is that right? That was so you saw.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
So now you saw.
It was crazy. It's Daytona. That's what happens. Daytona, Talladega, same thing.
So now you've seen the longest Daytona 500 in history. So you've got that next to you now.
I felt like it was the longest too. Sitting in that seat all that time. So luckily we can get up and walk around.
Well, that was do people get up? Do people stand and watch, or no?
One of the guys that was with us never sat down. He was from one end of the track, walked back and forth, spent a couple $100 on everything. He kept looking out the gateways, is all it was. But it was crazy.
Did you buy anything? Did you get any souvenirs? Did you bring anything home?
Nope. I got all that stuff.
Not even for Jack? You didn't bring anything home for him?
Well, I'm not going to spoil that, but for myself, no, I didn't buy anything.
Oh man! So now you've had that. You've seen the only Tuesday race in the history of the Daytona 500. Now you've seen the longest race. So you've got that. Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's there you go. You're bound to get lucky once in a while.
What do we make of the guy who won? Ricky Stenhouse. He hadn't won in like 5 years, right?
Good I wish I'd have threw $5 at him, because he had to pay pretty good, man.
Did you win anything out of that?
I can't bet all the Chevys, but no, I didn't win nothing. I had all the Hendrick boys, but
so now
my buddies are still there. They're not coming back till middle of March.
What? Oh my God! Did they ask you to stay?
Yeah, they begged me to stay, but I couldn't stay. How can you go home? It's freezing home. I gotta go home.
I was gonna say you could stay. The Yanks are about to start spring training. You just make your way up to Tampa, and you can watch the.
No, I'll tell you, you get on that 95 there, and the speed limit's 70, and away you go. If you ain't driving 80, they're gonna run you right over.
Well, you're preaching to the choir out here. South Dakota speed limit's 85, so you got nothing to sneeze at here.
New Yorkers, we can't get by 65. It's crazy.
So they're racing in California this coming weekend. That is on Fox for the race that's coming up on Sunday there. So that's.
I'm curious if they're going to address it, because there was a lot of complaints. But what are you going to do?
Well, you got to pay. You got to pay the bills. I would say that. That's what Stacy would yell at me and say. We got to pay the bills. And in the old days, you would miss it totally. You wouldn't even have the side by side. So I appreciate that, but at some point, you gotta. I would think you got to. We got to break in. This is too big a deal that we got to show our audience what just happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's easy to sit. It's easy to sit here and say now.
That side by side drives me crazy, man. Especially if something's happening.
Golf fans don't like it either. They do it in golf. I know you don't watch a ton of golf, but
like you said, the bills got to be paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They do it in
Maybe
golf
when you
too,
start paying the bills, I'll get a paycheck.
Hey.
Who knows? You never know.
I don't know if you saw the story this morning from The Athletic that Russell Wilson pushed to have Pete Carroll fired before his departure from Seattle. He also wanted John Schneider, the general manager, fired. How'd that work out there for old Russ?
Yeah. Well, that's, they give him all that money. He thinks he's got all kinds of power, but he didn't have it,
And then he ended up getting traded, and
I don't think he's going to get along with what's his name at all.
Sean Payton?
Yeah, who knows, but maybe.
A lawyer for Russell Wilson disputed the report as entirely fabricated. I think there's too much of that to be true. I would think I haven't talked to Drew yet, but I think that story's got to be true to me. So.
Drew will be all over that. He'll find out.
You got some hot bets for us here. What do you got? What are you betting tonight? Anything good?
No, I'm not going to wait and bet the race Sunday is all I'm going to do. I haven't bet since I come back. So
you're not betting hockey? I thought that was your thing now. I got everybody built up for it that you were betting hockey.
I'll get back into it. Believe me.
A-Raj came out of his darkness, by the way. Did you see that? Yesterday.
Did he make his mind up yet?
He hasn't seen his shadow or anything like that, but I don't know if that means he's got a decision coming anytime soon. So
he said he's not going to let him hang on, so we'll see.
Oh, are you kidding me? This guy loves attention more than anybody. He wants to drag this out as much as possible.
I know. Why would he tell anybody he's going to a retreat or whatever? That's
right.
I know. It's crazy.
You know why? Because he keeps us talking about football when it's February 24th and we're, 6 months away from games actually counting. That's why.
Well, you know yourself, football, it doesn't matter. Football's every day, it doesn't matter.
Have you watched any of the XFL, USFL? Will you watch that or no?
No, I haven't caught it yet. I'm going to see. I haven't looked on my site. Maybe I'll be able to bet it. Then I might watch it, but I doubt it. Yeah, I'm sure you probably can bet it.
I would. There's not a doubt in my mind that you could find something to bet on it. That you will find your way.
If Vegas has it, I should be able to get it. So I don't know if they do or not, though.
I saw it. It was snowing in Vegas as well the other day. So did you see that?
That's happened there before, but that's I could sit in my hotel room and look up into the mountains and see the snow.
Yeah.
When I was there, yeah.
Their hockey team is quite good, by the way. And I remember because you went out there the first year they were playing. I don't know if that was the last time you've been there, but how crazy it was. It's only gotten bigger in the 5 years since. It's just crazy how much they love hockey in that town now.
How long ago was that?
2018, I think that was their first year. So,
oh man, they must miss me. I got to get my butt back out there. That was the last time. Well, with COVID and everything, I haven't gone anywhere.
Right. So, well, they miss you. They want you back, I'm sure. You can stick around.
I'd love to go next week. The race is there next week.
And the Super Bowl is there. The Final Four is going to be there the year after that. So there you go.
I couldn't afford the Super Bowl one. That's got to be crazy.
What are the big plans this weekend? What do you got on tap for us?
I'm trying to stay in the house and stay warm. I'm freezing. At 85-degree weather.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, upstate New York is getting the weather that we're used to out here. So nobody feels sorry for you back here. I can tell you that right now.
No, I'll take ours any day. You guys are cold. We're not cold. Compared to this, you guys are that's crazy.
I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad everybody has a shirt on for this segment here. We're going to have to make that mandatory going forward from now on, all right?
No guarantees there.
No, it's we're pulling the plug if it's not happening. I love you. Have a great weekend, all right? We'll talk to you later.
Yeah. All right, man. I love you too. Have a good one.
There he goes. My dad joining us each and every Friday back from Daytona. We'll have his best bets coming up. We'll start that segment up pretty soon, of course, with the baseball season around the corner. I'm sure he has his opinions about how his Yankees were outspent by the Mets. I don't know if that means any more wins for either team, but they certainly spent more money than everybody else. We are at our final break. We'll take one here. We'll come back. We'll put a bow on everything for the week and get you ready for a huge sports night and a big-time sports weekend. We'll do that when we say goodbye right after this on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. I can't do my best Brett Busberger, but that's a live shot inside the Ralph Eggleston Arena as they're getting ready for the consolation games coming up at noon, which you'll be able to stream at InForum.com on the WDAY Sports Plus tab. You'll see Jamestown and Minot in the first game, followed by Legacy and Century. And then our coverage on WDAY begins at 5:30 tonight. Note the early start time, 5:30. Between Red River and Cheyenne, followed by Davies and South Shanley in the second game. Email comes into the show on this. Dom, funny how Waldorf from Forest City, Iowa made it to Mayville Tuesday, and Bellevue from Omaha made it to Valley City State also on Tuesday. Shame on Wayne State for not making it to Bismarck. Going back to our story that we talked about earlier with the U-Mary women's game with Wayne State that was supposed to be played Wednesday. Wayne State didn't, try to come or didn't come. One way or the other, the game didn't happen, and now is moved from Bismarck to Sioux Falls for tonight. The game will be played, and then the winner of that will play tomorrow night in the Pentagon in Sioux Falls. So disappointing on how that came together. Speaking of the story we were talking about with Logan on Grant Nelson, top story in The Athletic today. He was the missing piece for what could be a dangerous Creighton team in March. The Baylor Shireman story. That's available at The Athletic, going right to what we're talking about. Of course, that Shireman, the player of the year last year in the Summit League for the unbeaten Jackrabbits, entered the NBA draft, hired an agent, got the feedback, decided to pull his name out, then went into the transfer portal and left South Dakota State, ended up at Creighton. Do I see the same path for Grant Nelson? I would say about 90% I do. That's why I think tomorrow's game with Western Illinois could be a swan song of sorts. I've been wrong many, many times before, and I could be wrong here. Wouldn't surprise me there. But if this ends up being it, it's been a heck of a 3-year run. I'll just say that on what we got a chance to see. And I'm sure he's going to want to give his team the best possible chance to be the 3 seed tomorrow in a game against Western Illinois that they did not play well in Macomb the first time out. Trenton Masner, by the way, we're talking about Player of the Year candidates. Masner is the real deal for Western, who's had a good year. They don't go very deep. I think they play 6-7 guys tops. So we'll see how that plans out for the Bison coming up tomorrow. You can watch it here on Extra, 1 o'clock tomorrow. That's our final Bison basketball broadcast for the year. We're all done after that. Hard to believe. Feels like we were just tipping it off in November, and now here we are at the end of February, and we are officially done with that game coming up tomorrow. Been a wild ride there. Let's get you ready for what to watch before we get out of here on this Friday in anticipation of a huge sports weekend. You got anything you want to watch, it's available over the next couple days. The Timberwolves open up the second half of this calendar tonight as they'll take on the god-awful Charlotte Hornets. Michael Jordan's team is not good. The Wolves begin the unofficial second half of the season in 7th place in the Western Conference standings as we wake up this morning. A half game ahead of New Orleans, a game ahead of the Jazz and the Warriors. They're a game back of Dallas for 6th. Charlotte has won 17 games all year. But if there's one thing the Wolves have proved this year is they are really bad against the bad teams. So we'll see if they can pull this one out tonight, 7 o'clock on Bally Sports North. A reminder, the North Dakota State Hockey Tournament, our coverage begins at 5:30 tonight with Sam Getzinger. Dean Wilson and Rachel Herzog will be on the call of that. 5:30 right here on WDAY with Red River facing off against Cheyenne, and then Davies and South Century in the second game. Highlights of all those games as well coming up on our news tonight at 10. And the UND hockey team, just a couple weeks left in the regular season. They got what they needed against St. Cloud State last week. They need more points tonight against Colorado College. That's available on AT&T Rocky Mountain, also on Midco tonight. So if you get DirecTV, you can watch the UND game tonight, 8:30 against an improved Colorado College team. That's tonight, as we'll see how the Fighting Hawks fare there. They're next to last, penultimate, we like to say, series of the season. On top of that, we mentioned we got the Northern Sun Tournament happening this weekend. Baseball going on. We'll know who's going to Sioux Falls and where. We'll update you all that on Monday. We got to go. Thanks to our guests today, to Logan Campbell, Rob Scherr, and, of course, my dad. If you missed any of this show or any of our shows this week, you can podcast them at InForum.com. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy whatever you can. We'll see you back here on Monday on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and InForum.com.